It's a story about a high school basketball player. Oh, no, now it's a story about a gigolo who gets involved in corporate espionage. Oh, no, now it's a spy thriller. Now it's about the boy band O-Town watching the same movie we're watching, but also the movie that they are currently starring in.
What is this?
Welcome back, ladies, gentlemen, and however else you wish to self-identify, to the is this, and welcome back to simple intros. Yes, welcome back to us not
doing like the scripted 5-minute opening where I gotta do an Orson Welles impression, because Kaz just had a brilliant idea.
I'm Kaz Lascard, and with me always is Jameson Rafter.
Hello again, everybody.
Yes, and let's just jump right into it, because our guest is here. Well, let's recount the story of what we tried to do today, because we had a bit of a speed bump.
No, you know what, you're too kind, but there's no we. It was all on my end. The internet crapped out at my place, so we couldn't find the video that we were going to watch or we couldn't load the video on YouTube, because my internet was down, and I swear to God, I pay my bills on time. So it's something beyond my control.
So we had to jump in a cab and come all the way back over to my apartment with our guest, with our very gracious and understanding guest who
drove all the way out from another town, to be here, and then no, we gotta relocate. You're too patient with us.
These things happen. Let's introduce our guest. Now, this is a really interesting, because a lot of the times I'll bring a guest. You'll be one of my friends, someone that you've never met, and sometimes you'll bring one of your friends, someone that I've never met.
And I had no idea that we had a mutual friend in this person.
Yes, this is our first mutual friend guest here. She's a karaoke host. You can find her on the mic all around downtown Vancouver. Please welcome Teshawna Sihata.
Hey.
Teshawna, how are you today?
I'm doing great. Yeah, I trained for the first time in at least a year.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that was a thing.
Yeah, so. During a transit strike.
Yeah, it was great.
Yeah, the trains are still running though.
Oh yeah,
because they're all robots.
Yeah.
And then they'll replace all of the bus drivers with robots.
Mm-hmm.
And then they'll replace everyone with robots.
Yeah.
We're not supposed to talk about
this. Is how this starts.
Everything but the arts, right?
Yeah.
Right? You can't teach a robot to feel, can you?
There's just going to be an abrupt cut in this episode, and then when it comes back, it's like, welcome to podcast! Please laugh at this humorous anecdote. Humor engaged.
Oh my God.
So, Teshawna, on this show, we watch weird, baffling, crazy, strange, bizarre movies.
Super excited.
Yep. Mm-hmm. Now, you had a couple of requests when we asked you to do this show. The first request was that we all drink wine.
Yep.
Yeah. And that is what we are doing now. It is 2:30 in the afternoon, and we are starting. We are starting this early.
Halloween has just passed us, and I think we all had a very enjoyable Halloween. But I was kind of looking forward to maybe taking a little break from drinking for a while, maybe having a sober November. And then you suggested, hey, let's do a wine thing. All right, well tomorrow I'm going to start.
Yeah. No, yeah. A lot of people have mentioned no drink November as a thing. And just looking at my calendar, the first I had an after Halloween party with a bunch of friends last night, and then November 2nd I knew we were doing this and we were going to have to drink wine, so I'm all like, well, that's the first 2 days already done, so
no.
I might as well just admit
You're in it
that,
now.
yeah, that's not going to happen. Your second request, which I did not grant.
I don't remember.
Is you asked if we could do Spice World.
Actually.
Uh-oh. Did I remember
Did
this?
Jameson tell you wrong? That's going to affect the movie we're doing. Okay, alright.
Oh, no.
We were talking about the Spice Girls, and Jameson said, hey, you should come on the podcast, and maybe we'll do Spice World.
So you
Yeah.
said, okay.
Guilty, trying to pass the buck here.
Okay.
I don't know why, I think we were just, talking about it, and, it dawned on me, holy shit, they made a movie, didn't they? And I remember seeing that movie in theaters and being like, that's, kind of silly, whatever, and then I haven't thought about it in years, and then it just came back to my mind, I'm like, I wonder if that movie holds up, is it any good, is it bonkers, insane? Remember at one point they get abducted by aliens, and, Meatloaf is in the movie?
Wait, what? Did we watch the same movie?
They go to pee in a field.
Yeah.
And then aliens come down while they're peeing in the field, and the aliens are all like, "Oh, the Spice Girls, we love you, bleep blorp, we're aliens." It's very weird. So it wasn't even you.
No.
So it wasn't
No.
even your idea. I'm like scrolling through your messages, and you totally say like, "Hey, Teshawna wants to do Spice World."
Maybe I brought it up and you seemed excited, and I'm like, oh, good, she's in on it too.
All right.
I think that's actually how you asked me to come and be a part of this, because we were talking about how excited I was about rewatching Spice World. Yeah.
Okay.
Still excited, still gonna do it.
All right.
Yeah.
Well,
Yeah.
mystery
Still
solved.
gonna have wine when you do it.
Yeah. I'll do it
Miss-
by myself. You can come and
I
join.
have my own podcast.
Yeah.
Just
With
without-
wine and Spice
In
Girls.
fact, fuck the podcast.
Fuck the fuck is this?
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Well, I did pick a movie today because I'm like, okay, well, we can't do Spice World because Spice World is a little too well known, and also I try not to do any movies that have previously been covered on How Did This Get Made, and they did an episode on that because that is, that's the professional version of what we do.
That's what we're aspiring to be. Give it a couple of years.
Yeah. So yeah, I didn't want to repeat myself, but I'm like, okay, I'll try and find the weird version of Spice World. I'll try and find
It's already weird.
Yes, but
Weirder
I
than
do,
Spice World.
Yes. Yeah, weirder than Spice World. Yes,
Okay.
that was my goal, and I do think I succeeded. I found something.
All right.
I found something. We'll get into it in a bit, but before we dive into that, really briefly, what are some of the weirdest movies you've ever seen?
Oh man, I've sat through some pretty terrible movies. I will say there's only one movie I've ever walked out on. What was that called? I think it was Epic Movie.
Oh, right.
Oh,
Yeah.
no.
Yeah.
Like, I saw it when it was in theaters. I was a teenager. I
Yeah.
think about 20 minutes in, I was like, fuck this.
Yeah, yeah. I tried watching 5 minutes of Meet the Spartans, and around the time they were doing like a parody of like Casino Royale, where like he was getting his balls whipped by like the bad guy, but then
That's in like the opening of that
That's
movie?
in the opening
Yeah.
of that movie,
Jesus.
but then whoever's whipping him puts cat food on his balls. And he, like, opens, like, a tin of wet cat food, and the food was really just, like, viscous and unpleasant, and around that time I'm all like, no, I'm not doing this. If a movie actively is making me gag in the first 5 minutes, I'm not watching it. Yeah, all those movies can fuck off. All of those movies can go to hell. They've completely killed the parody genre.
Spoofs used to be so good, and then I saw that, and I was like, well, that's never happening. I don't think I've seen a spoof since, actually.
No. Well,
Because
there
I
hasn't
just-
really been like a decent spoof movie
Yeah.
in decades.
Yeah.
That's
You know,
true.
I am eagerly awaiting for the next Leslie Nielsen to come by, like some dramatic actor who
Yeah.
in his twilight years just takes on like these very deadpan comedy kind of roles.
We
Yeah.
almost had the successor of Leslie Nielsen. It was very nearly Anna Faris. It was a better actor than I think people give her credit for. Also, I've listened to Anna Faris on other podcasts. Anna Faris is a very weird person.
Oh, yeah.
She has a very odd sense of humor, so I just like her for that
Really?
reason. Yeah.
I think the straight. I mean, I've come to learn now that there's a lot of people that actually love this movie. But the weirdest movie for me that I've ever sat through was Black Sheep, all the zombie sheep.
Oh, that one.
Yeah.
Not the Chris Farley, David Spade
You and I
one.
were thinking of the same
I
movie.
have seen both of them.
The
Yes.
poor man's
yes.
Tommy Boy.
I
Yeah.
hate it. Like even now, like I remember all the different parts, and once in a while I'll think there's like a scene in the movie where the taxi is just sitting out there, and it's like racking up to like $400, $500, $600, and I'm like, I think about that every time I get in a taxi, and I'm like, I hate that fucking movie. Get out of my head.
That's a good bit, but like, hasn't that been done in other movies too? Like, someone's running up like a cab that's sitting.
Oh,
idle.
guaranteed.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, probably.
Yeah, but maybe not while being attacked by zombie sheep.
Yes. Well, let's talk about this movie that we're watching today.
Yeah.
So, today's movie is Longshot. Not to be confused with the Seth Rogen, Charlize Theron movie that came out earlier this year, nor to be confused with The Long Shots, the Ice Cube football movie directed by Fred Durst,
Holy shit.
which is also a thing that exists.
Oh,
No.
Is that going to be a future episode?
Yeah, I was gonna say.
No, because I just explained what that is.
Fine.
I do want to do an episode on the John Travolta movie that Fred Durst directed,
Oh, boy.
because that looks fucking terrible. Yes, so Spice World has the Spice Girls. But Longshot says, fuck that, because this movie stars, in order of relevance, Britney Spears,
Oh.
NSYNC, O-Town,
Oh, no.
LFO,
LMFAO?
no,
No,
LFO,
Oh, okay.
Take 5, Innocence, and Sia. note. Those last four, I have been told, are bands.
Oh.
That is such a weird mix.
Oh my.
Can either of you tell me what connects all of those bands that I just mentioned?
Like, I guess, like, in the early 2000s or late 90s, like, there was, like, that huge boy band push.
Mm-hmm.
So, wasn't that, like, all kind of orchestrated by, like, the same record company?
Correct,
Yeah.
Jameson.
Yeah.
Every band that I just mentioned, well, maybe with the exception of Britney Spears, because she's kind of like her own thing. She's tangentially connected in a way. But all of these bands that I just mentioned were all created by the same gentleman, Lou Pearlman, who is also the co-writer and producer of this movie that we're watching today.
What?
Now,
Really?
Lou Pearlman, the former helicopter and blimp magnate.
I love this guy. Or a magnet, you say. A magnet.
You may want to hold off loving this guy
Okay.
immediately, because...
No, I love eccentric crazy, like a billionaire.
Yeah, no, he ran before he was a music producer, he ran a helicopter taxi service, and then really got into blimps.
Mm-hmm. Huge into blimps.
Huge into blimps. And then the story goes that one day he had a record executive on one of his planes, and it was a record executive who managed the New Kids on the Block. And this guy was telling him all the money that he made managing New Kids on the Block, and Lou Pearlman said, "Oh, I want to get into the music industry." So
Blimps are a dying business.
business.
Boy bands are where the future is.
You're really not far off at all about what happened here. This is a really fascinating story. So in 1993, he decided he was going to hold like a big talent scout and find a bunch of unknowns.
Sure.
And he found 5 young men who later went on to become the Backstreet Boys.
Whoa.
Yes. And they toured around in Germany
Hold on
for
a second.
several years. Yeah, what?
He created the Backstreet Boys and NSYNC?
He created the Backstreet Boys and NSYNC, and he created the beef between Backstreet Boys and NSYNC.
That was
Both-
manufactured?
Both of them.
I knew it!
Both of them were created by the same guy, and it was entirely like a money-making thing to like get like the rivalry going on.
Yeah.
But no, they were totally okay. So let me just say the story of Lou Pearlman is fascinating, and I'm not going to go into every facet because we'll be here forever. And it also takes a very unpleasant turn because Lou Pearlman is probably best known for scamming all of these groups out of millions of dollars. He did this by including a clause in their contracts that made him the 6th member of the group. So, like, in the contracts, he's the 6th member of the Backstreet Boys, which means he's entitled to a 1/6 of all of their profits. Plus, every, like, you know, big dinner they went to, every hotel they stayed in, all of, like, the travel fees, he took that off of all of their paychecks. So there's a story of, I think it's like Lance Bass says, NSYNC was, like, a thing for, like, 3 years, and they hadn't been paid yet, and like around the time that they got their first paycheck, he's all like, "All right, here it comes. I'm going to be like a millionaire." And his paycheck was like for like 10 grand.
Oh, Jesus.
He scammed all of these bands
Wow,
out of money, and he
got away on a blimp.
he got away on a blimp. Yes. So he would have been known primarily for that had he not also been running an even bigger Ponzi scheme. So this guy was a straight up criminal. This guy was a massive crook, and he got people to invest in a made up airline company for over 30 years, resulting in over $300 million in debts. Like, he left families devastated. And he did try to escape. He didn't escape on a blimp, but he did go on the lam for about 6 months. And eventually they did find him. He was sentenced to 25 years in prison, which is where he died in 2016 of a stroke. And in addition to all of this, Lou Pearlman also was just a severely overweight, awful piece of crap. Probably was this is getting into some really icky territory,
Okay.
but it's pretty much accepted common knowledge that he also probably most likely sexually abused a lot of
His talent.
his talents.
Yeah.
He was never formally charged with any of it, but yeah. So yeah, Lou Pearlman, absolute monster. And today we're watching a movie that he produced and wrote. So normally I like to say on this show, like, we don't like to punch down. Movies are hard to do. Movies are hard to get together.
Yeah.
We don't like to, necessarily make fun of, like, the individuals making the movies. In this case, we're going to make a bit of an exception. Yeah. All right. On a somewhat lighter note, this movie was directed by a guy named Lionel C. Martin. His only other feature film was 1997's Def Jam's How to Be a Player.
Oh, that sounds great.
Yeah, but he's really known for his music videos. He's worked with Heavy D, LL Cool J, Boyz II Men, Whitney Houston, TLC, Tony Braxton, Snoop Dogg, and I think probably most relevant as far as I'm concerned, he directed this.
You got what I need, but you say he's just a friend.
Play more than 10 seconds of that. We're going
yeah, that's exactly. Yeah, I'm doing that.
Got what I need.
Yeah.
Also,
But it can't be too good on that because then we'll get content strike too. But that's
Is there a good way to sing? If you're singing Just a Friend and you're singing it like legibly, you're not singing it correctly.
Yeah, I think we could like take that one to court and like plead a pretty good case that like, no, we didn't sound great at all.
Yeah,
on that part.
exactly. Yeah. Also, so the other person of note I'm going to mention about this movie is this movie was co-written and stars a gentleman named Tony DeCamelis. Longshot is his only credit on IMDb. Very little is known about this guy, but while I was researching all of the awful stuff that... my cat's freaking out. My cat will do that. He'll freak out quite a bit. While I was researching all the awful stuff that Lou Pearlman did, I found out that DeCamelis was a disgraced stockbroker that Pearlman...
So he keeps pretty good company, I see.
Pearlman had a habit of hiring, like, dum-dums to, like, do stuff for, like, his company. Like, he hired, like, his chauffeur to, like, handle his finances or whatever, because he just wanted to surround himself with yes men. Who wouldn't fight him or whatnot.
Sounds like the Trump administration.
Very topical. Very topical reference.
Yeah. I'm the guy who says, like, let's not get too political on
Cutting.
This. But hey, I'm almost done my glass of wine. So.
Cutting it here. This is going to be our sloppiest episode for sure, yeah. So yeah, this guy's not an actor. He was like a stockbroker who I guess decided that he wanted to write and be the lead actor in this movie. He now works as a realtor in Florida.
Okay.
Yes. So other people who are in this movie. So this movie has a ton of people in it, and I won't mention all of them because some of them aren't spoiled by the opening credits. Top of all of like all of the
NSYNC
and
like,
Sync and O-Town
and
yeah. So I'll mention a couple people who are in this movie. So the two leads, aside from our non-acting stockbroker, are filled with two people who are best known for soap operas. Our lead female is an actress named Hunter Tylo. I want you to remember that name, because that name will become relevant as soon as the movie starts.
Okay.
She currently stars on The Bold and the Beautiful. She's been on that show since 1990 and has appeared in 2,158 episodes of that show.
Wow.
Her only other movie of note is the film Sharkman, which we mentioned on our Mosquito Man episode. I thought that
part
was
of the Man cinematic universe.
I thought that was funny. And the other soap opera actor is Antonio Sabato Jr.
Nice. Is he in like some Spanish soaps?
He's mostly known from General Hospital.
Oh, okay.
But today
I'm not a soap opera guy.
Today he's known more for his outspoken support of President Donald Trump.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, he's not well liked in the acting community.
This just gets better and better.
Yeah.
Hasn't even started yet.
Yes. And then 5 more names that I'll mention because they're all going to be spoiled by the opening credits. Our old buddy Paul Sorvino is in this.
Oh, come on. Poor old Paul.
Poor old Paul, stuck in these movies, stuck in these shitty movies.
Paul, I was in Goodfellas.
Paul, I was in and other films and stuff. Ellen Albertini Dow, best known as the Rappin' Granny from The Wedding Singer.
I said hip hop, I hip it to the hip hip hop. You don't stop the rock to the bang bang boogie. Stay up, jump the boogie to the rhythm of the boogie the beat.
Oh, her.
Yeah, she's sweet. Gilbert Gottfried.
Okay.
And and straight from TGIF, Home Improvement's Zachary Ty Bryan.
Oh.
And Boy Meets World's Danielle Fishel.
Okay.
Topanga Lawrence.
Love her.
All right, so and then a bunch more cameos. There's 7 other cameos.
Well, don't spoil it now.
I'm not going to spoil any of them. There's one cameo in particular that's going to make you lose your fucking mind when it happens, because I wasn't expecting it. I'm like, holy shit. Yeah, so we're just going to go right into this. And as we stated earlier, we moved over because the internet wasn't working at Jameson's place. We have to watch this movie on YouTube. We watched a couple of movies on YouTube on the show in the past. This is the first time, however, that we are watching a movie that has been uploaded to YouTube in 10-minute increments. So there will be breaks. There will be commercial breaks. Just act like we're watching
this
a TV
whole
movie.
episode, this whole day's been kind of like a chore to get through so far. So the wine was a good call, Teshawna.
Yes.
You're welcome.
We will need it. We will need it. All right, we're gonna watch Longshot, and then we'll be back after these commercial messages. We don't have commercials.
No, don't touch that dial.
All right.
Oh, my very last note.
What's your very last note?
This whole movie is all one takes.
Very much so, yes.
Yeah.
And we're back. We're back. We've taken our long shot, and we've come out the other end of it, and
Wrong is right.
we're all better people. That did seem like an absurdly long movie, even though it was an hour and a half. So
I feel like we've been here for hours.
truly where to begin with Longshot. Okay, we'll recap it, obviously, but right now...
I would like to rename the movie.
Sure, yeah,
Go ahead.
O-Town watches a movie.
O-Town
No
watches...
sense!
O-Town watches a movie. That is very accurate.
Ends where it begun, with O-Town watching a movie.
Except it doesn't, because... Okay,
Because there's more!
And there's more movie.
there's so much more. We'll get to that. Okay,
Plot-wise, yeah.
as right now, what do you think the plot of this movie is?
Oh,
I just told you.
Yeah, well, which plot are you talking
Okay,
about?
what's the plot of the movie that O-Town watches?
Well, I was gonna say, which plot do you mean? Do you mean the one where, a gigolo
Yeah.
was blackmailed into going out?
There's 18 plots.
Going
in
to
this.
New York to I guess, assassinate or whatever he was doing with the mafia guy,
I don't think-
rival,
yeah.
business rival? Or do you mean his that same gigolo's younger brother trying to work up the nerve to ask a girl to prom after he blows the fucking big shot of a basketball game?
Okay. Yeah.
Which one do you mean?
Yeah.
Yeah.
This is
Yeah.
such a confusing movie.
Mhm.
I mean, it makes sense, now, watching this, now that we know that this movie was written by a failed stockbroker and a guy who owned a lot of blimps.
Mhm.
You know?
It's probably the best result.
You know what? The movie did seem a little inflated.
Thank you, good night. That's all the time we have for. No.
Well,
shortest podcast ever.
I mentioned this while we were watching the movie that we have seen a couple of movies that did seem like, this is a money laundering operation. This is a huge scam or tax break this guy's trying to do. But when you do a scheme like that, you actually have to film things.
Yeah.
So you can actually have dailies and prove that you actually were working on a movie. This really, of all the movies that we've seen, this one really does seem like this was just a money-making scam.
This movie only exists because Lou Pearlman wanted to continue to just make all of the money. He owned all of these musical groups, and he's like, I'm just going to put them all in the same movie together.
Well, what's strange to me is that he has all of these musicians by the balls, but he doesn't make a musical, or he doesn't really use a movie that features them.
Because that would cost money, and I'm pretty sure that when he decided he was going to make a movie, he was like, you know what? All these people are famous. They're going to grab attention. How can I fit them all into a movie for the lowest price point?
Mm-hmm, yeah.
And also, it was very clear, because all of the musicians that pop up in this movie, it's all just 2-second cameos, just doing silly things, being in silly situations. He clearly didn't have all of them on the same day.
No, it was who's available, who's on tour right now.
Yeah.
Hey, JT, PT. Like, you're not touring with the band right now. Come be a valet. Hey, Joey Fat One. Like, you gotta be a Joey Fatone. I'm sorry. You gotta be in a pizzeria, and you gotta fight with one of the other members.
One of the other
NSYNC
NSYNCers.
in the kitchen.
Yeah.
Even more awe.
Yeah.
Nobody knows him.
Yeah, I can't name the other one, but I can name, like, you know, the derisive name of one of the other ones.
This movie has so many cameos in it. Like, the ending credits have, like, 3 entire sections that are just as himself, as herself, and I don't recognize any of those names.
No.
I don't know who any of these people are.
Yeah.
And I wonder if, like, back in 2001, they were famous,
We should have known,
but
no.
yeah.
But I think with a lot of those bands, there were like some diminishing returns after you got past, like, you know, the NSYNC and the Backstreet Boys and whatever. Like, eventually, like, there's just going to be an oversaturation of boy bands, and so, like, they all kind of blend in. There was that one cameo where, like, a lady is in the pizzeria and she sees, like, one guy at the table, and she's like, "Are you somebody I know?" And
They do that a lot in
and
this
he had
movie.
this look like,
Yeah.
"Well, I don't know. Am I someone you know?" It's like, "No, probably not." And I'm like, "Who the fuck was that guy?
Who
Was that someone you
was
know?"
that? Legitimately. He had eyeshadow on, he had like a mesh shirt, and he was with a little girl.
Yeah.
And
Also, that
legitimately, who was that?
That entire scene
What
felt
was
like
there
an
really?
ad for Chuck E. Cheese to me, but like not.
No, it was an ad for NYPD Pizza, which was an actual restaurant that existed that Lou Pearlman owned. Because of course he did.
Yeah, if
okay.
you're gonna film anywhere, it's gotta be in my restaurant. We gotta promote this one. We gotta make money off this movie production.
Okay, we're getting wildly off track.
We gotta
Okay.
talk about the plot.
So,
What plot? Okay.
I think you mean which plot?
Yeah, really.
Because there were 12.
Fair. I don't know. One of my things I jotted down here was like, I feel like the people involved in writing this movie were like not in full agreement of what it was that they were making. They're like, you know what, fuck it, we're just gonna take all 5 movies and make one.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Like,
Well, there was 2 guys who had never written a movie before, who also weren't in the movie business and weren't actors or writers.
Yeah. One guy wanted to make a spy movie. The other guy wanted to make a coming-of-age high school movie.
That's what it was.
Yeah.
Have you guys? Okay, you know, Baby Geniuses.
Yeah, I know.
This
vaguely.
movie very much felt like the directors of Baby Geniuses decided they wanted to make a porno, and they ended up with a really long music video.
Oh, we didn't get to the sex.
Except there was no sex and barely any music.
It was.
Yeah. All right, so to recap the plot, the movie opens with the members of O-Town in the O-Town mansion watching, I guess, like a shopping channel video of the movie Longshot. And over some very, very bad improv where they're all talking over each other, we find out that they've ordered the movie Longshot and now they're sitting back to watch it.
God, we could talk so long about just this opening before the credits. Like,
Guys, we're O-Town right now.
Yeah, we
are.
are.
We are in
We
O-Town,
are
yeah.
O-Town.
Who's watching us?
The first 5 minutes of this movie are just noise. Are just
Yeah.
O-Town talking over each other and arguing, and then cutting back to the 2 guys on TV who are talking over each other and going,
Hey, you know, sad part is you would buy something like this.
Oh, I would?
Yeah, you would. Yeah, you would. I would so not buy it. I'd buy Longshot. Yeah, sure. Okay. We'll set it up right away. Okay.
They're shilling hard for the movie Longshot, where they just have like hundreds of VHS tapes and
So
like,
many.
and people are
No
like
cover.
no cover.
No cover.
And
This
they're
is a-
taking calls even though the phone's not connected, and they're like filling like
It
orders
was
for,
literally a dangling string. Like, it was not
and
even...
they're filling orders for people who will have like, I need like 6 copies of Longshot, and like
30 copies!
It's like no one knows how movies work. And even when the one guy from O-Town gets his copy of Longshot delivered to him, he says, What happened to my other copy? I ordered 2 copies of the movie. Why did you order 2 copies of the same movie? No one does that.
No one does that now.
no one does that.
No one does that now.
Yeah.
Back in 2001,
Yeah.
everyone was
When
ordering multiple.
when O-Town had money to burn, they would just like buy multiple versions of a movie that they are in.
But they're not in it.
They're not in it. They're watching
not
it.
in it.
So Jameson, you didn't know, but O-Town was a band that was formed based on this television show Making the Band.
Okay.
I forgot for a second that you didn't know this.
Yes.
Yeah, no, I am
So
very...
O-Town only exists because they're on this show. So we see O-Town in the house from Making the Band. So it's all very sort of meta.
Yeah, and I should probably point out that, like, I am very kind of, like, pop culture, like, illiterate, especially from, like, the era where, like, I probably should have had my finger on the pulse a little bit more. Like, this movie came out, like, right around the time where I was in high school, so, like, I probably should have been following more of, like, the MTV or Much Music crowd, but I wasn't.
You, a male teenager, should have been following boy bands?
Go figure, right?
Nah.
I was listening to boy bands at that time, but...
Yes, well.
Well, you know, but
Well, whenever, like, the camera would linger on, like, a good-looking guy who, like, looked like a dancer,
you could assume, yeah.
I was like, okay, this is probably a guy, and then I kind of looked over to you guys and be like, you gonna name this guy, or...
So, O-Town is watching an infomercial for the movie Longshot. The movie that they order and then watch, but also the movie that they are currently in, because it's the movie that we are watching.
It's very meta.
The VHS box cover of Longshot is just the name Longshot. It's like, there's no graphics or anything. It literally looks like someone, like, printed that off at home.
Yeah.
It's like a can of soup.
It looked like a no-name brand movie.
Yeah.
Yeah, because Lou is he's gonna fund this movie, but he's not spending a goddamn dime on, like a VHS copy.
I think that this fake cover of this movie would actually probably be preferable to the actual cover that they ended up with, because this is the cover to Longshot the movie.
What?
Ooh, that is busy as all fuck.
Hey, then you would at least know who to look for, though.
True, yeah, they're all named, I imagine, yeah?
Kind of, sort
but
of.
only, like, the famous people, not, like, the actual, like, main characters in the movie.
So
right?
at the very bottom, it says, you know,
Forget the
cameos
characters.
include all of the bands, and then up top we've got, like, the names of some of the acts. But it's a very busy cover. It's just all of, like, them mashed together. No, it's terrible. It's probably one of the worst DVD covers I've ever seen.
So, the movie that they actually watch, it surrounds, like...
We're not just going to talk about O-Town for the next hour?
Whatever, man.
Whatever, man.
That's
No.
the only thing that made sense.
O-Town watched the movie.
Yeah.
Okay, so the actual plot of the movie, as you said earlier. Okay, so it starts off with this high school drama about, I've already forgotten all of the characters'
Can we just talk about
names.
for a second?
Alex.
What's her face? I don't remember her name. But
Topanga?
Yes, Topanga.
Yeah.
Can we just talk about the fact that Topanga is cast as a cheerleader and all she can do is lift her leg? Halfway. Halfway.
But boy, can she lift that leg.
Yeah,
Ooh, boy.
I guess so.
Yep.
Yeah.
I guess. But
How old do you think a lot of the people playing the high schoolers were?
30s.
They were in their 30s.
Oh, yeah.
Without looking it up.
Why teenagers now feel so awkward.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Like, without looking it up, like, I feel like Home Improvement probably stopped airing, if not in 2000, like, around that time.
Mm-hmm.
And, like, Zachary Ty Bryan must be in his 30s.
Yeah.
In this movie.
He is a full-grown man.
He's a grown man.
Mm-hmm.
And both him and Topanga are playing, like, high schoolers again. You can just tell on their faces, like, I can't believe
That's
I'm
crazy.
still
That
fucking in
means
high
that most
school.
of these people are, like, almost in their 50s now.
Yeah.
That's nuts.
Mhm.
No, I don't.
And I bet they're
accept
still
it.
playing high schoolers somehow.
We think this movie is going to be a high school story about this character named Alex, who we see in the opening basketball game. There's like 3 seconds left on the clock, and he could pass it to Zachary Ty Bryan, and Zachary Ty Bryan could win the game, but instead he tries to go for, like the half-court shot or whatever, the free throw, and he misses it. And
That's not a free throw, but
That's
yeah.
not-
I
okay.
know sports either.
I know sports. I understand sports.
Yeah. But
I go to the sports arena.
He he shoots. Yeah, that'll come back later. But he shoots instead of passing, and for an easy win, he wanted to get like a 3-pointer, and he misses, and now he's like the school pariah.
Right.
And it's right around time where he should be asking people to prom, but now he's like nobody likes him now because he cost them the big game.
Yeah.
I guess.
So Topanga is hitting on him hardcore,
Oh, yeah.
but
She's
she's
super predatory.
very predatory.
What?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Given the fact that Alex is played by someone who looks like he's 19, and Danielle Fishel is clearly 35 in this movie, so
Well,
probably
she's
not.
all up on him, and I'm sorry, but he just lost.
Well,
Dex.
his conflict is that now his confidence is shot, and he doesn't know he has a massive crush on her, and he wants to ask her to the prom. And you know what? The job's halfway done because she is all over you, and she is so willing to clearly cheat on her current boyfriend with Alex.
That whole scene was so uncomfortable. Just
Many scenes are uncomfortable. in this movie.
I mean, I don't
It was
really
made
remember
by
much of the
an
movie at
actual
this point.
criminal.
Yeah. who didn't know high schoolers. She just knew that they got money,
Yeah.
and I want their money.
I feel like this whole movie was a fever dream, guys.
There's that word again.
That keeps coming. That keeps coming up
a
in
lot.
in
What,
this
fever?
pod.
Fever dream.
Oh, wow.
We cater to fever dream movies
Clearly.
on this
Yeah.
show. Yeah.
But like speaking of like fever, like let's start talking about some of the cameos that drop up. Like,
Well, we haven't even finished talking about what the plot of this movie
Okay, let's
is.
talk
Because
about
there's no plot.
Let's talk about the other plot.
Okay.
So, sorry.
Okay,
Shauna,
so
did you have?
Okay, I don't remember what it was that you said the plot was.
Well, the other plot was Alex's brother, who works at a country club, but he also moonlights as a gigolo to all like the lonely old housewives that go to the country club. He runs afoul of this mafia criminal kind of guy.
Laszlo Price.
Laszlo Price,
Of
played
course, played by Paul Sorvino, because what else?
Okay.
lazily by Paul Sorvino.
Who I will admit is actually trying harder in this than he was in Last
Fair
Hour.
enough.
He really.
But he's like, hey, I know you're fooling around with my wife. I'm not going to take out your legs or anything, but in exchange for that, you got to do me a favor. I need you to go to New York and I think like assassinate or something.
No, he doesn't. He's not assassinating. Okay,
No.
Okay.
this is what I think the plot of the
Okay.
movie is.
He's
And
trying to screw over his wife. He wants to find out what's going on so that he can get in there.
That's not his what? The lady
Was it not?
No.
I don't know.
I think
those
watched
were-
a different movie.
those
think
were
that
two
was a-
different women.
I think that was a business.
Those were two different
Oh
women.
my god.
It was.
I think the blonde lady was like a business, like a competitor, and he wanted to like scoop up her business. Rachel, yes.
This
Rachel.
is what I
His
think.
wife was the one that you said looked like Betty Rubble.
Right, Betty Rubble. Okay,
This is
All right.
what I think.
we're on the same page now.
The plot of, or at least Jack's plot is. Yeah, like you say, like he's a gigolo and he slept with Laszlo's wife, and now Laszlo is blackmailing him under threat of torture, and he wants, and so Rachel is like a business competitor. Her husband ran this company that makes CDs, like information discs, but they look
shaped-
like things.
They can be shaped or like manipulated to look like anything else, which seems like a really stupid business idea.
It's such a weird plot point. Like, Jack,
Have you ever wanted like your CD to look like a bottle opener, a baseball card?
Yeah.
Like,
Laszlo gives Jack like a CD with all the information of like his mission on it, and it's a baseball card. And he puts a baseball card into his laptop,
and it
then,
works.
And then it's like Mission Impossible, and Laszlo's all like, this is what I need you to do. So yeah, he
It's
says,
not even possible.
go to New York,
Nope.
and
I think you're right. I think
Yeah.
that is like impossible.
Did
Like,
you ever try? Okay, so you remember when the GameCube came out?
yes. And then
Yeah.
they
You
had the
couldn't
mini
play the fucking mini discs on your Discman.
on
That's
nothing
not a
else.
thing.
Yeah.
Yeah. So what is this?
Yeah, and like actually, point of fact on that, the Dreamcast could play like music CDs, but what that meant was like people could actually take blank like music CDs and pirate the Dreamcast games, which
Oh,
is
yeah.
why, which is why it was like more
I
of a
had a-
commercial failure than it.
I had a
No.
friend. I had a friend who had like an entire like album full of just pirated Dreamcast games. Yeah,
Yeah.
that's exactly what happened. Yeah, I don't really understand like the technology, but the discs
I don't
need
think
to
they
be
do either.
No,
No,
they certainly
they need
don't.
to be whole,
Yeah.
right? To have all the you can't.
You have to because the laser, like as the disc has to like read,
Yeah.
on, like an actual.
It has to be. It's like a record.
Yeah,
like,
yeah.
like the information is on the disc.
Yeah,
Yes.
there was one point where the disc that they played was like had cutouts in
Yeah.
it, which I guess
Using the shape of
explains
a
why
head or
there's
something.
so many plot holes.
Yeah.
So he has to go and he has to get information from Rachel and then give that information back to Paul Sorvino. And then Paul Sorvino, I think the plan was to tank the company so the stock, it has, so like this, it becomes like this a movie about like insider trading.
Yeah, like this corporate espionage kind of stuff.
So it's a high school basketball movie that turns into a corporate espionage movie about a gigolo,
Okay.
and then it turns into
Celebrity cameo fest.
like a spy thriller,
Mhm.
and then it goes back to the basketball thing. So that, yeah, there we go. In the broadest of terms, that's the plot of this movie, but
you know
we are omitting so much.
But the longest scene might as well have been a music video.
Yeah, like that. Now it's a musical again all of a sudden.
Yeah.
Because
So in this movie that features Britney Spears, NSYNC, and like countless others, the only song in this movie is
Sung by none of them.
Is sung by no one.
Yeah.
Is sung by this guy, Joey Scullthorpe.
Wow.
Who plays Alex, who gets, like, the one song in this movie, and he sings it from beginning to end in this... Again, this is wild how this comes about, too.
In the movie, it's, like, it kind of came off like, this is sort of like this is a starring vehicle for him to kind of showcase his own talents, but I don't know who the fuck this guy is.
I have a theory about that as well.
Which guy?
The Alex, the...
Oh, yeah.
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 He
said he didn't do anything after that.
No,
right?
he went on to do absolutely nothing. No.
So, was he supposed to do something?
So here's a little bit more of backstory about Lou Pearlman. So everyone who's in this movie, you know, like with this movie got all the NSYNC members and O-Town and Britney Spears. Backstreet Boys are not in this movie.
That's true, yes.
The reason the Backstreet Boys are not in this movie is because around this time, 2001, the Backstreet Boys realized that Lou Pearlman was stealing all of their money. So they took him to court, and they fired him as their manager, and then by, like, their third album or whatnot, they were out on their own. So they had completely severed ties with him at this point. Now, what's really kind of interesting is, the more I was reading about Lou Pearlman, I was trying to figure out what the timeline of this movie was. Because the article that I read said that by the time he started the first season of making the band and was like trying to make O-Town like the next big thing on his roster. By that time, things had also kind of evaporated with NSYNC. NSYNC had figured out that he was also a crook at this point in time too.
So
and
he's
also,
kind of losing his cash cows at the moment. Yeah. Okay.
But what's weird is that this movie has both NSYNC and O-Town in it, even though that timeline doesn't make sense anymore. So I think this movie must have been filmed over, like, 3 years. I think, like, there was, like, a weekend where it's all like, okay, let's, like, shoot, like, with Timberlake, and then everyone went on tour. Yeah. And then this...
It was weird that, like, this would have been around the time where Justin Timberlake was still with NSYNC, so he wasn't doing a solo thing.
NSYNC was still together at this point.
Yeah, so, and it's weird that, yet in the movie, Justin Timberlake is separate from, like, the other members of NSYNC.
So, yeah, that's the plot of the movie. God, let's just talk about the cameos, because, like, really, what else is there to say?
Well, let's just start off with, like, probably, like, the one that is, like, that we see the most often, because, like, he is, like, a recurring character, Gilbert Gottfried.
Gilbert Gottfried kind of saves this movie.
He does.
He really
in your face about everything.
They very clearly just told Gilbert Gottfried, just say whatever you want.
Yeah.
Beautiful day we're having. Hey, can I help you ladies out? Well, would you like to keep me as a pet? I'm out.
So yeah, so Alex works at a record store / coffee shop?
It's a music shop, like...
It's a music shop with a couple of tables.
Yeah.
In it.
And they sell... So essentially like a Starbucks.
And they sell... They only sell music, apparently, that is Lou Pearlman produced music. Because you look on the walls and it's nothing but NSYNC and LFO. And yeah, Gilbert Gottfried plays his boss, the owner of the record shop.
Well, Alex, you're late. Hey, everyone, Alex is here. Now we can all work. Alex makes his own hours.
And he's just Gilbert Gottfried.
Yeah.
He's not attempting to be anything other than Gilbert Gottfried, and honestly, he has some of the funniest lines in the movie.
Hey, what are you listening to? What are you listening to? Tell me what you're listening to! What are you listening to?
They mostly just seem like totally like just off the cuff, like, hey, like, you're really out of touch with, like, the boy bands and everything, but, like, you aware that, like, these are famous people. So just, like, say whatever, and, like, be, like, pretend to be starstruck, or, like, you know, mispronounce a band's name or something.
Excuse me, are you Ricky Martin? I have all of your albums.
There are so many scenes in this record store. The record store is also where we get one of the other very odd subplots that are in this movie, because the record store is where all of Ellen Albertini Downs' scenes are. So she is this delightfully diminutive, adorable old woman who just comes into the record store looking for new music.
Do you have any newer music? We just got one of those DC players.
You mean a CD player?
Raymond always says I'm so old-fashioned. So what do you have that's recent?
And it's revealed over the course of the movie that she used to have a son named Alex who died in a car crash when he was 15 and she was driving the car. And it's this...
She's got like this like survivor's guilt over it.
Yeah.
It's this very dramatic, sad little subplot, and she acts the hell out of it, and I wonder if, like, anyone bothered to tell her she was in this horrible movie. She gave 110%.
Yeah.
She was great.
What the fuck were you doing putting this in the movie? Like,
Yeah.
did you accidentally kill a kid in a car accident? And,
Well,
like,
I wouldn't put it past him.
Yeah,
I
this
wouldn't.
is like your like weird therapy about it. Jeez.
God, I'm genuinely lost. I'm
Yeah.
genuinely lost. How do we go about talking about this movie?
I mean, we could keep bringing up the celebrities. Like,
I think we
Britney
just
Spears.
need- I think we
feel
just-
like this was just an advertisement. Like, that's all this whole movie
Oh,
was.
yeah,
It was just
definitely.
one big advertisement. So, it's kind of like if you just watched, like, a playlist of all the different music videos on YouTube, and then was like, how do I explain this playlist I just watched? That's what this is.
Mm-hmm.
Yep,
That's
that's pretty.
going on.
That's pretty on the nose. All right, so yeah, let's just continue to talk about, I guess, just the segments of this,
Yeah.
because really, this movie doesn't have scenes; it just has like bits. It
Yeah.
just has moments that happen,
Yeah.
opportunities for cameos to show up.
Mhm.
Let's talk about one that has probably, I think, the majority of the cameos all in one scene. So Jack, the Gigolo brother, played by the film's screenwriter, who had never written or acted before this movie, he gets on a flight from L.A. to New York,
Mhm.
and on this flight, he has a flight attendant played by Britney Spears,
Mhm.
who really is not in this movie for very long.
No.
I think she has like 3 lines, and none of them are terribly memorable. And then
The only thing memorable about it was that, like, holy shit, it's Britney Spears.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
the only reason why Britney Spears is in this movie is to set up a joke. So Britney Spears comes over and she says, "Can I get you anything?" He says, "Yeah, give me a shot of tequila." And then she leaves, and it sets up for this joke. When the person comes back with the shot of tequila, it is this outrageously offensive gay man
Mhm.
who is, oh god, it's just the worst stereotype.
Oh, I'm sorry. I thought you were someone. I have to be sorry, honey. Service is my middle name. What would someone so perfect like you want with someone like me? A cocktail? Some honey roasted nuts? Or would you just like me to fluff your little mini pillows?
Yeah.
It's so cringy.
Yeah, you just think back to, like, those, like, incredibly dated late 90s, early 2000s gay stereotype, and it is that caricature.
Just like verbally assaulting the guy and putting his
he is,
hands all
like,
over
he
him.
is, again, like, Jack, like, all hands are upon, like, Jack and, like, also Alex. Like, everyone wants to fuck these
There's
two guys.
There's lots of groping in this movie.
Lots of groping.
There's not a lot of. There's no sex, and there's not even really that much kissing. But everyone touches everyone,
Yeah.
like a lot,
Mhm.
like uncomfortably. But then air stewardess Brittany, you also reminded me that.
Oh, not the first time she played a flight attendant.
Yeah,
Yeah, she
it's like
later
I
reprised the role for the Toxic music video.
Yeah, she leaves first class and she goes to coach, and she all of a sudden, like, the music video for Toxic
Yeah.
just starts.
Did Toxic come out before or after this Google?
I'm gonna say
Google it up. I'm gonna say after, probably.
But yeah, like later on,
But-
in that same scene, she goes to the
cockpit, yeah.
and we meet, like, Bam Bam and, like, 3 big cameos, like, all in a row.
2003.
2000, really?
Yeah.
Okay.
2003.
Yeah.
That's actually earlier than I
Yeah.
thought it would have been.
You know what? She probably just wasn't happy with her role the first time around and needed to rejuvenate it.
Yeah. Reprise the role.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Kenny Rogers plays the pilot.
Kenny Rogers plays the pilot.
Here, Captain.
Thanks, honey. You're my lady.
Did you? I had to look it up. Did you notice who the co-pilot was?
Oh, I know it's somebody. Dude.
His one line of dialogue.
Yeah, that's the way I like it. Yeah.
Here's your coffee. Nice and sweet.
Well, thanks. That's the way I like it.
So based on that, who would you assume that is?
The guy.
Casey and the
Damn straight.
Sunshine Band.
That is Harry Casey, or Casey of Casey and the Sunshine Band.
Hell yeah.
Yeah.
Do-do-do-do-do.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then I guess what's that role? The air traffic controller or
Like
whatever.
the comm officer or whatever.
Right.
Whatever,
Is
yeah.
Lance
Is
Bass.
Lance Bass.
Captain, we're in the middle of a lightning storm, and we've lost all communication with air traffic control. I don't know what the problem is, but they've got to get in sync.
And then he looks, like, directly into the camera. And what was supposed to be, I guess, a great funny line, but
Awkward fourth wall break.
awkward fourth wall break, and that's like where the majority of the humor in that scene came from.
Who are the other weird cameos that show up in this movie that I didn't mention earlier? Dustin Diamond has one scene as a waiter who's like taking a smoke break.
Yeah.
He has one stupid line that references the fact that he was on a show about high school.
I dropped out of high school for this. I could have been an actor.
You pointed out to me that like Kevin Eubanks plays like
Yeah.
a musician in the movie. Like for listeners who don't know, Kevin Eubanks was Jay Leno's band leader on the
Right.
Tonight Show.
So during this movie, he was known. He was Kevin
Yeah.
Eubanks. Everyone knew who Kevin Eubanks was.
Yeah, but what a weird get for the movie. I mean, they're all like coming out of nowhere kind of cameos. Art Garfunkel shows up.
Okay, I want to talk about Art Garfunkel. Okay, so there's a really specific reason why Art Garfunkel is in this movie.
Yeah.
Don't tell me! You used to be in a team!
I'm Art Garfunkel, and I just want to make a purchase, please.
Art Garfinkel! I can... Hi, everyone! Art Garfinkel is here in my store!
So, the reason Art Garfunkel is in this movie is because, and this is true, Art Garfunkel is the first cousin of Lou Pearlman.
Shut up.
He really is.
Oh boy.
And he's there with his family.
Mhm.
That is his actual family.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And his wife has a line at the end of their scene where she just gets really angry and says,
Honey, this is crazy. Let's go.
no way in hell was she acting.
No, that was not scripted.
He dragged his family to the set that day
To get yelled at by Gilbert Gottfried.
to do a favor for his cousin, who I'm just going to assume, this is pure speculation, I'm just going to assume, maybe he wasn't even that close with, because Lou Pearlman doesn't seem like a nice guy.
Yeah.
I don't
Someone
know.
immediately yelled
Yeah.
cut as soon as
Yeah.
he started talking.
And then the end of that scene is clearly Art Garfunkel's actual non-acting wife just saying, can we get the fuck out of here,
Yeah.
please? Why did you make me do this? But that's not even mentioning the most surprising cameo of all.
yeah.
So, Alex and his girlfriend, who is his brother's girlfriend's daughter.
Yeah.
Uh,
we should probably just
we gotta- let's set
get
this
back
up.
to the plot here for
We
a
gotta
little bit.
set this up.
What
yeah.
plot?
Yeah, exactly. So Jack is in New York at this point, and he keeps running into Rachel, like Paul Sorvino's like business nemesis or whatever. I don't know what she was.
Yeah.
But they really hit it off because on their very first encounter, she is incredibly drunk. And then he just keeps running into her and like not being caught off guard by that at all. Like she really starts taking a shine to him and not thinking that he's a creepy stalker or anything.
Well, because he's a fairly attractive guy, so
Sure.
yeah.
Yeah.
And he was there under the assumption that, like, he's there to seduce her. Also, he is a gigolo, so that's kind of his job
Sure.
to seduce women
I just
and
think it's
give
like-
them, like, an idealized version of, like, romance, I
I
suppose.
guess, but I think like she seemed like she's a millionaire in her own right, so I feel like she would be like, she wouldn't automatically, take a shine to a gigolo or be comfortable seeing him like again, like a day later when she's having like coffee with her friend. She seems like
This isn't the first time you've used the phrase taking a shine in this podcast. I genuinely love how
I like that expression.
every once in a while, like, you just talk like
like
a
an old
70-year-old man.
like an old Irishman.
Matt Jameson?
Yeah. Yeah. I don't know who any of these boy bands are, but I'll use like terms like
they're the
shine
bee's
and,
knees.
They're the bee's knees, yeah.
Oh.
Right on, brother.
Okay, so Jack is trying to get his information out of Rachel or whatever.
But he's
and-
taking too long, so Paul Sorvino says, like, hey, like, you may not, care about dying, and you, like, don't want to hurt Rachel, but what about your brother, Alex? So Jack just has Alex flown over to New York.
Well, no, he has Alex flown over to New York because when he's talking to Rachel, he finds out that Rachel has a daughter, and he has Alex flown over to New York specifically to hang out with the daughter and
Yes.
I guess
Yeah.
get her out of there so he can get the info that he needs or whatever.
Right, yeah.
You know?
That's right.
Yeah. So they have a romance. There's like parallel romances going on between the two couples, and at the end of a it's all shot. It feels like it all happens in one day. Like they go to get pizza, and then they go shopping, and then they get hot dogs, and then all of a sudden it's spring break.
Yes.
and they
Let's
have.
talk about that date.
We'll get to the big cameo eventually. It's coming at the end of this, but yeah, we got to talk about spring. We got to talk about spring break for a second because this is wild. So yeah, they just show them doing like a variety of things, and then all of a sudden they're at like a public pool filled with tons of people, and there's a stage, and there's a karaoke contest, but
Barely.
they don't get to choose what song they do.
There's no screen.
There's no screen.
There is music and a microphone that is not karaoke.
And if you don't win over the crowd in like the first 5
chucked
seconds,
into the water.
you get chucked into the water. So it's like more like Showtime at the Apollo
The
at a pool.
The judges are this group of black men who I'm going to assume are also a band that I've never heard of that are a cameo in this movie.
Yeah.
They're very judgmental. Like the first guy gets up to do the song, he sings for like 10 seconds, and then it cuts to the judges, and one of them is just all like, and he like throws him in the water. And then Alex gets up, and they say,
And up until this point, like, Alex has been like sort of this like really nervous, shy, kind of quiet guy, but he goes up there and he nails a song that he has never heard of, that he does not have the lyrics to.
it's so weird what happened. Like he goes up, because that's not how karaoke works at all. He goes up and he says, "What's he going to be singing today?" And the guy says, he's going to be singing a song called "Reason to Love" or whatever. And then he just starts singing, and everyone loves it. But like you assume that you'd sing a song that everyone has heard of, but no one has heard this song because it is an original song written for this movie. So it's so wild.
Can you imagine like hosting a gig where like you didn't have a screen and you pick the songs for the person going up to sing?
BRB planning.
Yeah.
Have either of you
But also, like, nobody would ever want to come back.
No, of course. Yeah.
Have either of you ever done? I think it probably has different terms or whatnot, but like Russian roulette karaoke.
Yeah.
Kamikaze
Kamikaze
karaoke.
karaoke,
That's
yeah.
right. Yeah.
Where the host like kind of picks the song. I am dog shit at that.
Oh well, it was with me.
It's never more clear like how like out of touch with like pop culture and music I
Yeah.
am than when like songs get picked for me.
Well, I went. Yeah, like one time I did. I went with like a group of friends, and we picked each other's songs, and we didn't know until we went up. And that was the day that I learned that I did not know. What is that? What song did I sing? It was yeah, wake up, Maggie, I got something to say to you.
Oh, yeah.
I had never heard that song before that point.
Yeah.
You're the one who did Informer last
I
year.
did, yeah, I
you
did
did
Informer.
Informer. You had no idea what you were doing. It was great.
Oh no, I'm familiar.
But he had the lyrics in front of him
I'm
too.
familiar.
So.
I'm familiar with the song Informer, but when you asked me to sing Informer, I'm like, okay, well, I'm not going to do it the way he does it in the song because I can't sing that fast. So no, I made a conscious decision to do it that way.
Yeah.
So good.
But anyways, Alex, like this like really nervous guy throughout the movie, nails the song and has like this renewed sense of confidence, and he is like full bore like macking on Rachel's daughter for the rest of the movie.
And if by macking you mean they share like tender hugs and kisses on the cheek.
Hey, it seems to be working.
It's the most chaste romance ever.
Yeah.
They were high schoolers.
They were high schoolers.
So, at the end of a date, they're walking home, and there's thunder happening in the background. So they're walking hand in hand, and they're walking through like a dark alley because they're trying to get home with a shortcut.
Yeah.
And then out of nowhere...
You know what's fun?
Before we drop this...
So when that scene like happened, you were like, okay, get ready. And so I figured to myself, I bet you they're gonna get mugged. Like, there's gonna be like some action scene here, that's what's gonna happen, it's gonna be like out of nowhere, it's gonna be kind of funny. Who mugs them, I could never have predicted in a million years.
So a mugger jumps out, and it takes maybe half a second before your eyes adjust, and you say to yourself, no, I'm not seeing that. That is indeed Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson.
The Pebble.
The Pebble.
The Pebble for
He's-
this movie.
He's so tiny. He used to be so tiny. And what's wild is that he isn't tiny. He's still a massive man. It's just, he has gotten so
much bigger.
ridiculously huge over the years that like 2001 The Rock, it looks diminutive in comparison.
I mean, like, I gotta talk to Scott so we can refresh my memory and like, he must have gone by like another like persona or character before he became The Rock.
No,
No.
I don't believe
sure?
so.
Are we sure
I think
of
he
that?
was
Okay.
like, I think early on he was something like, not Rocky Marciano,
Maybe
but
that's
like
what I'm
something
thinking.
like
Yeah,
that.
yeah.
Like he had two names,
Yeah.
and then he became The Rock. At this point in time, he was definitely The Rock. And
But
this,
using
this
a wrestling
movie-
term, he jobs hard because he loses
Oh, yeah.
the fight.
He loses-
he loses the fight so badly against Alex. In what I have
Yeah.
to assume is like his very first like movie role. But you said no, this came out the same year as like the Scorpion King.
It came out the same year
Like
as
Mummy 2.
The Mummy Returns.
Yeah,
so
yeah.
he probably filmed this back to back with those. Yeah.
But yeah, I was blown away when I
Yeah.
saw The Rock.
It's weird, right? It's weird watching something this shitty and then all of a sudden, oh, there's one of the biggest movie stars in the world right now.
So, quick Google search, he was Flex Cavana, and then he was Rocky Maivia, and then he was The Rock.
Lex Cavana!
Yeah.
He was
Oh.
totally Flex Cavana in
What a-
that fight scene.
What a world! What a!
Dude is 6'5".
Oh yeah, no, he's massive. Oh,
Yeah.
he's a massive.
He doesn't look
individual.
6'5" in this
Yeah.
movie.
No, he doesn't.
Somehow.
He looks 5'6".
What?
And I gotta say, like, that's where my notes end.
That's
because
I honestly didn't write too many notes.
I just wrote, The Rock shows up out of nowhere, and then I stopped taking notes.
What did I? Okay, we didn't talk. So yeah, Jack gets blackmailed by Laszlo, but what we didn't talk about is this wild car chase that happened.
I think I wrote about that. Random car chase.
Random car.
Yeah.
So and at this, okay, so here's what's weird about this movie that we haven't really discussed.
Here's what's also
yet.
weird about
Here-
this
Yeah,
movie.
Here's
also,
what
I think,
continues
is
to
the
be
weird.
weird about this movie. So this movie starts, with O-Town watching the movie, and then we get the credits, and then we get the high school basketball game, and then we get like a couple of other like standalone scenes. But maybe like the fifth or sixth scene into this movie, all of a sudden Jack starts narrating. And he's just all like, there's my younger brother Alex. He's always getting into trouble. Me, I'm a gigolo and a tennis instructor. And at this point in time, it's all like, wait, is this the main character of the movie? And like 10 minutes have already passed.
Yeah.
And you're just now informing us that this is our main protagonist. It's not like any movie I've ever seen.
That was a crazy scene too. Like it felt like something out of like an 80s like gangster movie. Because like they corner him in an alley, they kidnap him out of his car, they blow up his car.
They blow up his car. Oh, did they already have a bomb in his car?
I didn't see them.
Or did that guy just have a cell phone that just blows up cars?
I think the latter, because I didn't see them plant a bomb or anything in that movie.
There was one moment during Jack's kidnapping, because like a car chase, and then the goons get him, and then they try
Take him to a helicopter pad,
They
and
tr-
they fly him to a helicopter.
I have to say, I will give this movie one compliment. The shot of the helicopter coming in, flying in, floating down, and then they put Jack on the helicopter, and then the helicopter flew away. That was a good shot.
It was, yeah. I
And-
thought the same thing too.
But
Yeah.
now that I'm aware that Lou Pearlman had like a helicopter taxi service, that scene makes a lot more sense why it was there.
I'm surprised like his company name wasn't the actual. I bet it was.
Oh no, his company, I believe, because his company name was Transcontinental Airline.
Okay.
And when I say his company, I mean the company that
The Shell
exists,
Corporation.
the company that existed on paper that actually never existed ever.
Yeah,
but it was called like Transcontinental, and I believe the record store is called Transcontinental Records. I definitely saw that at one point.
Oh,
so yeah,
Lou.
it's just Lou putting all of his businesses in there.
Yeah. Oh,
Yeah.
speaking of it, like he has a cameo in the movie as a police captain.
Oh God, yeah, he shows up near the end as
He's a good guy.
As a hero cop.
Look, he's a good guy.
yeah. Everyone knows cops are our friends.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
I don't know, yeah, but yeah, no.
How's that going for you now, Lou?
Yeah, really.
How's it
So
going
for
now?
the police.
In hell!
You hear me down there?
God, what else happens? in the
We
movie?
should probably mention, like, because, like, the movie, like, continues on, we gotta bring down Paul Sorvino, so we gotta infiltrate his office. And they do so with the help of a lot of spy gadgets, because early in the movie, we find that Alex has a subscription to some spy magazine where he just buys
Yeah.
gadgets.
He gets all these gizmos.
Yeah, he has, like, a pen that he uses for, like, recording in class, but then he has, like, a lot of breaking and entering kind of stuff, just in case, like, for this exact situation.
Yeah.
And so they break into Laszlo's offices because they want to get, like, dirt on him. Because we see earlier that Laszlo likes to, like, torture people who have done him wrong. Very weird torture. He, like, ties someone to a chair and then he shoots baseballs at them through like a baseball machine, and that's what.
We're pretty sure this guy had some issues with sexual assault, yeah?
Yeah, we're pretty sure. Yeah.
Okay, cool.
Just
Just
gotta confirm that.
clarifying.
Confirm those suspicions.
Yeah, and then they get. I just realized there's so many fucking characters in this movie. We haven't even mentioned Tommy yet.
Tommy Button.
Tommy Button.
No, his name is Tommy Button. Tommy Button, who's Antonio.
Oh, sorry, go on.
Who's Antonio Sabato Jr., who's just a character in this movie who's like Jack and Alex's friend, and like there's this weird, barely mentioned subplot where he wants to open a club. He wants to open like a high-end Chippendales club.
Yeah.
And then at the end of the movie, he does.
Mm-hmm.
And that's all you have to say about him.
That was all.
Tommy, what are you doing here? It's my club.
It's my club. I opened the club.
Yeah.
It comes out of the middle of the movie where he's just like, are we getting a new plot in this where like a friend wants to open a club, but like it never really comes up again. You don't see him building it. He shows up like here and there to sort of like be an accessory to get the plot moving to something.
He shows up for one of the straight up weirdest scenes in the entire movie where
you know what? I have never watched a movie before that had so much plot protection for a plot that didn't exist.
Yeah. What is plot protection?
Characters that exist specifically to move the plot ahead.
Sure, yeah.
That's it.
Yeah.
Like, that's everybody in this whole movie.
Like, he shows up to move the plot ahead, but exactly as you say, what plot?
Yeah.
And what did he bring? So yeah, he's just a character that when Jack is in New York, he calls him and says, hey, just keep an eye on my brother. But then when he calls for his brother, Tommy ends up getting kidnapped by Laszlo, and like he shows up at the end with his arm in a sling, so it's implied that he was tortured, but he seems perfectly fine at the end.
He's spirits about the whole thing. And like every other scene that he's in, he is flirting with women.
Yeah.
Women who have no lines.
Tommy exists to be in one of the weirdest scenes in the movie. So yeah, he's like watching Alex and hanging out with Alex and like giving him advice on girls, and then it cuts to they're just having like a party.
A tailgate party in the middle of an abandoned field.
I forgot about that.
There's like beach towels and beach chairs and women in bikinis and people are throwing balls back and forth and it's like, this scene should be on the beach. And they're in LA, so they can find a beach somewhere, but...
It's just an open, grassy field.
Just like a grassy, muddy, gross field.
Where like 9 people are just hanging out. And like, yeah, that seems like, that'd be fun. But what the fuck are they doing there?
And there are like...
Why are there no other people?
There are like 10 women in bikinis, and they only exist to just caress Antonio Sabato Jr.'s chest and not say anything.
That's it. That's all I had to say.
Yeah.
Well.
Probably not the worst acting gig
Yeah.
we've ever had. Yeah.
So, I mean, God, we can wrap up... I mean, we could wrap up this movie and literally... Because the movie just ends super abruptly. So they break into Laszlo's place. They get
like footage of him torturing someone.
Yeah, and then they send it to Captain Lou, who arrests him.
That whole thing happens in like 5 minutes.
Yeah.
They really had to like wrap up the movie about that. They were running out of money. They were running out of script. They got all their cameos in. They're like, shit, like, we gotta finish this thing up soon.
Yeah. Running out of space on the DVD.
Yeah. Which could have been shaped like anything.
That was really a missed opportunity that Longshot didn't come in like the shape of like, I don't know, like a koosh ball or whatever the hell was popular and like it's shaped like a Tamagotchi or
Oh my god.
Just like put it into a disc drive.
I was about to say like I don't know, there's something like iconic to the films, but it's like shaped like a basketball. That's just what a DVD is.
Yeah, but like what do they do? They give Paul Sorvino like the wrong stock information.
I don't know enough about insider trading to understand what happened there.
Neither do not.
But they screwed him over in some way.
Somehow he lost all his money, and like the cops got footage of him torturing someone, so he went to jail, and that's it for him.
That wraps up, and you would think that's the end, but they tack on one more thing. So at the beginning of the movie,
remember when it was a basketball movie?
Yeah, remember when this was a high school movie about basketball? The movie remembers right at the very end that we were about that at some point, so they decide to bring that back. And Alex and his nerdy friend go to a basketball game at the sports arena.
The sports arena.
I can't fucking believe it was called the sports arena.
Ladies and gentlemen, there's lots of fun at the sports arena and here at halftime.
And like, there were so many shots of the full arena, like they couldn't even get enough extras to fill the
It's
sport.
all lower bowl.
Yeah, it's all lower bowl. There's like a couple of shots of like the seats in the back. No one's in them.
Mhm.
That basketball game is attended by maybe like 300 people at most.
Yeah.
And yet every character in the movie is
She's
watching
watching it, like-
that basketball
Yeah,
game
the
on
most important
TV.
game of the year.
Gilbert Gottfried is watching.
Like, they got, what's it, take 5 to perform at halftime
Yeah.
there? Like a band that, like, I've never heard of and, like, no one's ever fucking heard of.
Yeah. Turns out Alex is in the winning seat, and he gets to make the free throw
From center court.
for $3 million.
Yeah.
And just take a guess what happens.
Yeah.
Makes the shot, he gets the $3 million. I assume he gives it to Tommy, because Tommy opens his Chippendales club.
Mhm.
And, God, it's so inane. Like, it's so, everything that happens in this movie is so sporadic, it's hard to recount it.
Mm-hmm.
The wine might be helping.
Yeah,
but,
yeah.
Yeah. This,
But,
I don't know.
Like, he gets the money, he opens the club, everyone seems to get, like, a real happy ending.
it does the
somehow.
Animal House thing where, like, it has, like, dialogue. It's not like, this is what happened to this character.
Mhm.
This movie was aptly named.
Longshot.
Long
Yeah,
shot?
Mhm.
yeah, like
Because
every
he takes a
single...
long shot.
Because it's a fucking long shot that this was going to be successful. It was not.
Yeah.
Okay, the last thing that I want to talk about doesn't really have anything to do with the movie itself. So, as we mentioned earlier, whoever uploaded this to YouTube...
Yeah, I got some thoughts on this guy.
Whoever uploaded this to
Got a
YouTube...
bone to pick with you.
Someone named Frame8
Frame 8.
or Christian Rodriguez...
Okay.
Is who is attributed to the playlist. I don't know. Okay, so they've cut this movie up into 10 different videos, all about 10 minutes each. But
Because he had a free weekend or
Yeah.
something. Like,
yeah, but at the end of every video, every time it transitions to the next video, it fades to black, and then on
like
screen,
a fucking Frasier title card between scenes.
and then on screen, the words "Hunter Tylo, the Huntress caught on camera" appear.
What is your fucking obsession with Hunter Tylo?
And this happens every time. So by the third time it happened, the first time I watched it, I'm like, okay, I have to specifically Google Hunter Tylo, the Huntress caught on camera. And what it turns out that is that is Hunter Tylo's Facebook page. But her Facebook page is called Hunter Tylo, comma, the Huntress caught on camera.
Why?
I don't know. That's like
Why?
a thing I guess she's into. Or I don't know what that means. She's the huntress. What is she hunting?
You know,
How is she caught on camera? Like, what does that need?
Like,
she's really doubling down on it,
like
though, as her brand.
my experience, like the first time that happened, my experience of just watching movies felt like, okay, this is actually like, you know, it's framing like an important scene, you know, like certain characters will be introduced, or like, you know, every once in a while there'd be like a different title that kind of introduced or segues into something else. But it kept showing up every goddamn
Yeah.
It's every time. And like, I can, and like, okay, so it's, okay, so it's the name of, it's the weird name she gave to her Facebook page. Okay, fine. Why did you include that at the end of every scene? And the only thing I can come up with is that Hunter Tylo must have uploaded this movie to YouTube. I can't think of any other, I can't think of any other reason that makes any sense. She must have put this up here. Not enough people are seeing Longshot. Some of my best work.
Now, like, if you actually, like, go to her Facebook page, like, can you watch, like, is there a link to watch, like, each one of these?
There is not, no.
Oh, no.
There is not, no. There's, like, photos of her dog, and,
Oh.
like, you know, like, regular stuff that
normal
people, yeah.
stuff, yeah.
Yeah.
So is this, like, Rodriguez, is he just a fan? Is it, like...
He's a huge Hunter
Hunter
Tylo
Tylo fan.
The Hunter's caught on camera.
Well, thank you,
Which-
we would never have seen this movie otherwise.
So, this is another missed opportunity is the fact we should have been referring to Hunter Tyler
As the Huntress.
as the Hunter's caught on camera the entire time we were doing this podcast, but it's too late.
Caught on camera, like,
Is
she's,
the-
like she's Bigfoot or something.
There is one scene where she is just fucking giving it. There's a scene where, like, Jack...
He reveals the truth.
He reveals the truth that, like, he's blackmailing and he's trying to get this information. And her reaction is the biggest overreaction I've
That's
ever
where the
seen.
soap opera in her comes out.
Oh, yeah.
Rachel, I'm in love with you. Look, I never told him anything.
Just leave, Jack.
You've got to believe me.
Out! Just get out! Get out! Go!
That's
Oh, yeah.
she's clearly a soap opera actor. She goes wild in that. Okay, God, is there anything else we want to mention? I just want to mention, like, this one fact about the movie here. This movie was released in theaters on October 25th, 2001 in Germany, where all of Lou Pearlman's boy bands were huge successes. This is something I didn't know until I started researching this movie. The Backstreet Boys were formed in 1993. But they didn't become big in the U.S. until, like, 1997 with their second album, which had Backstreet's Back on it. So they were around for, like, a good long while before they became really famous. But they were huge in Germany.
Okay.
They were, like, massive, like, stars down there. So, yeah, I think Lou Pearlman went to Germany first with this movie.
Yeah.
In the U.S., it debuted on the Disney Channel, of all places.
What?
That feels about right.
A movie about a gigolo.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, actually, you know,
Where
good
there's
point.
straight up torture.
Mm-hmm.
And also only one Disney star in the entire movie, I think. Right?
Two with home
Yeah, Britney
improvement.
Spears
Home
and
improvement,
two.
dude. Yeah.
Two.
Yeah.
Two Disney
Yeah.
stars.
Mhm.
And, it's sunk onto DVD, and it was packaged along with copies of Crossroads.
Oh.
Arguably much better movie.
Yeah, I never thought I'd say that about Crossroads.
I
Yeah,
know.
that is a
I
fucking
know.
better movie.
Yep.
Alright, so, like, two things I wanted to bring up. One was, who was that one member of NSYNC who kept interrupting their dinner date?
Chris Kirkpatrick.
Yeah, he kept, like, showing up at, like, the table.
It was almost funny.
It was.
It was almost funny, but
he
it
kept
really wasn't.
interrupting, saying like, "Oh, sorry, can I get some napkins?" Yeah, sure, here you go. And then they go back to having their date and talking about each other. He's like, "Hey, I'm sorry, guys. Can I get like I'm the health inspector. Actually, can I just have a slice of your pizza or something?"
That wasn't even in the movie. That was
That
in
was
that was in a deleted scene over the
Yeah.
credits.
For real, yeah.
What was
that's
it
the
that
other thing.
Eminem said? Chris Kirkpatrick, you can get your ass kicked?
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure that's what dude was thinking when he
Yeah.
kept interrupting his date.
If you. I didn't
But-
like that scene because, like, you know, he came back for a third time.
Yeah.
Like a movie this incompetent, you'd be like, he better come back for, like, the rule of three.
Yeah.
Like, my comedy brain is telling me that. If he doesn't, I'm not going to be surprised. But, like, just please
Yeah.
come back one more time.
So I wasn't super familiar with all of, like, the members of NSYNC. Obviously, I knew who Justin Timberlake was, I knew who Joey Fatone was, and Lance Actually, I guess I've just named all of them, except for the fifth one. But, like, Chris Kirkpatrick did kind of have that air of the member of NSYNC that everyone makes fun of. And I don't know why. I don't know what it was about him. I'm guessing it was his hair. I'm guessing it was his hair.
And the other thing I was going to mention was the end credits and just how fucking bonkers they were. Because they had, like, a lot of B-roll where, like, the actors were talking about their role, and, you know, the actual, like, you know, experienced actors didn't seem that thrilled, or, like, they kind of just like, yeah, I'm playing, like, a high school jock, you know how it is, kind of thing.
So the movie ends, the credits start, and then we get bloopers, but then they stop being bloopers, and they just start being
unseen footage.
Or just scenes we saw already from a different angle. Like, they show the cockpit scene again, but just from a different static angle. And it's literally word for word, the exact same. It's like take one of the scene, and Lance Bass's NSYNC joke is slightly different. This time he says out of sync. Instead of in sync. And it's like...
Or he just flubbed the line. You know, they're out of sync. They're in sync. I don't know. Yeah.
But they put that... But then it's shit from the movie that we didn't see. There was a guy on fire.
Yeah, there's a guy in a fire suit.
Yeah.
What the fuck? Where was that
If you're gonna film that, why did you put that in the
part
movie?
where Jack's, like, breaking a bottle on a railing or something. He's about to get into, like, a knife fight or something. And they're like, where was this?
Can you imagine the poor guy that had to set himself on fire for this fucking movie, only to find out that it didn't even make it into the movie? And then
there was that one guy, that one random guy who just showed up in the middle of the credits.
Yeah.
And, like, it was just, like, not even, like, he was standing still, The camera like zoomed in on him. He had a smile on it. But he wasn't in the movie. He wasn't anybody I recognized.
It's one of... This is a really hard movie to describe.
Yes.
You really have to see it for yourself to see the specific weirdness. It's really hard to kind of describe just how odd this movie is.
Yeah.
But yeah, so yeah, it's bloopers and then scenes that weren't in the movie, and then it goes into a music video for Joey, what's his name, doing the song from the movie. But it's not quite, it's like both a music video and like a behind the scenes look. Cause it'll cut to like him in the studio, like singing the song, and then it'll cut to black and white footage of the actors in the movie talking about their role in the film, but the music is still playing over that. I have genuinely never seen anything like that before. That was so weird.
It's very hodgepodge.
Yes.
Yeah.
I think about halfway through, nothing in the second half of the movie surprised me.
What do you consider the start of the second half of the movie?
I'm going by parts.
Sure,
I'm going by parts.
Yeah, like part
Thank you,
5, you
Frank.
mean? Or like,
We really should have done this movie part by part. That would have been, we just watch a part and then talk about what we saw.
describe your last 10 minutes.
We would have remembered more, probably.
Yeah.
Did you write anything down that you wanted to mention
I
about
talked about it
Did we
all.
cover all of it?
Yeah.
Okay. Alright, well then, Jameson, Teshawna, would you recommend Longshot?
In what sense?
Would you recommend other people watch it?
In what sense?
Yeah. like in the middle of the afternoon with a lot of wine?
Paint me a picture.
Yeah. Personally, no, I don't think I'd recommend this fucking movie at all. There's a lot of famous people. Oh, so it must be really good. Like, a lot of talent in this movie. Oh, no, I don't think so.
No.
I don't think so.
If your goal is to watch something with a lot of famous people in it, just do yourself a favor and watch some Band-Aid reruns. It'll make a lot more sense.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, this is a weird time capsule of a movie. There's no more early 2000s movie than this. This really encapsulates what the world was like at this particular...
Post 9/11, yeah.
Pre 9/11.
Pre 9/11. Oh,
I'm pretty sure I
said it came out in October that year.
Oh, you're right.
Yeah. Huh.
Okay, so this...
Yeah,
that was the biggest tragedy, is
right.
that... Well, if that's the worst thing that happened to you this year, consider yourself lucky. Ah, bad.
Well,
I don't know if we have enough clout to make 9/11 jokes yet.
Yeah, really.
Maybe
I will say that...
I'm leaving it in, though.
Okay, wonderful. You know what, sort of the caveat of this podcast is, we want to make sure we have, some shitty movies that have, recognizable names in it. Maybe roles that, they were embarrassed to take, or they just did it for a paycheck. Do you think anybody in this movie talks about this,
no.
at all?
No, well, particularly...
They probably talk about Lou, but they
Oh, yeah.
they don't talk about, they just chalk it up to, yeah, that was a real shitty time in my career. Or the highlight of my career. Some of these guys I don't think have moved on to do
Or
anything.
it's one time I was in a commercial. You know?
Yeah.
The people who went on to do, amazing things, for them, this was, at the most, this was, an afternoon.
Yeah.
This was a weird project that they did.
I'm sure, every video that I've ever seen of, The Rock, just, tweeting something out or whatever, he seems like the most upbeat and, naturally nicest guy on the planet. He's, openly talking about, his great time that he had, filming this movie. He can name, his stunt double. He can name, the assistant director. He's, a great guy to work with. I would imagine, he would not want to talk about this movie very fondly.
He probably doesn't even remember he was
Probably
in this.
not.
I doubt it very much. No, don't watch this movie. I mean, this is a hard movie to find anyway, so even if you do find a copy of the DVD,
Shit,
and you're
we'll
not...
just watch this on YouTube,
and you're not immediately put off by one of the worst DVD covers I've ever seen in my life. Yeah, no, there's nothing of any substance in this movie. It's just a weird little time capsule filled with some surprisingly huge names.
If you want to make this a drinking game, though, go right ahead.
Oh, yes.
Drink every time a famous person shows up. Drink every time a joke doesn't land.
Drink every time Hunter Tyler the
Hunter's on camera shows up.
I will say, if you are going to watch this movie, watch it the way we did and find specifically find this playlist on YouTube because it's so weird. It's just very odd. Anyway, Teshawna, thank you for being on the show.
Thank you for giving me time to come out here.
Great time.
Is there anything going on in your life that you want to plug? Or barring that, is there anything you've watched or enjoyed recently that you recommend other people do or see or listen to?
This is not a question I was prepared to answer. I don't think so. I'm kind of low-key right now.
Yeah?
Yeah, that's why I'm here.
Aw.
Okay.
Well, you can promote your gigs.
That's true.
All right.
Yeah.
We're not forcing you to
yeah.
plug anything.
No.
This is just how we end the show.
Go check out Teshawna at Triumph Entertainment at the Moose or Savoy or Red Card.
Yeah,
yeah,
hey,
your
look,
bars.
There you
yeah,
go.
I should just hire you.
Yeah, I'm a fan. Yeah.
Thanks for the plug.
Yeah.
But yeah, come see me for karaoke. It's a lot more fun than the movie was.
And a more accurate representation of what karaoke is.
Yes.
Yeah, you will not be pushed into a pool.
Yes.
We will provide the lyrics.
Yeah. Should just do that like one night, just like, all right, coming up next is Alex, and you'll be singing this song.
Yeah.
Wait, what? Just go.
Love it.
Just give it a shot. Jameson, you doing anything?
Well, by the time this comes out, the game that my studio has been working on, for the last year, will be close to dropping. So everybody check out MechWarrior 5. It's available on the Epic Game Store. And it was my first ever dev gig as a sound designer. I wanted to bring this up to you. When we started this podcast, I was working QA. And I've since moved on and upwards into a sound design.
There you
role.
go.
So, yeah.
Right
So
on.
my first really legit tough credit. So everyone buy that game and like it, so I can continue to do this.
It's far enough along now that there's commercials and advertising for it now. People can check it out.
Yeah, we got some promo videos. And I
Awesome.
think we got some stuff in print. I believe.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Wicked.
And I guess the other show. I started watching *Halt and Catch Fire*.
Mm.
Yeah, that's an interesting show. It's just about the computer revolution of the 80s, and kind of follows a fictional version of certain a startup studio.
It's like a more serious Silicon Valley.
Yes, yeah, very much so. It's some enigmatic salesman tries to strong arm a small software company into competing with IBM.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's pretty interesting. And after watching Game of Thrones and The Boys and all these high concept fantasy stuff, it's kind of good to go back to a character driven drama.
Yeah.
A very grounded kind of show. Yeah.
Cool, yeah. I don't really have anything to plug. I'm fairly low-key myself. I haven't even really been watching. I've been watching. I was watching a lot of interesting-looking horror movies, leading up to this. I'm all I'll have this to recommend. I didn't like any of them, so I don't know. And I've just been rewatching the same shows that I'd watch over and over again. So if you've never watched Brooklyn Nine-Nine or BoJack Horseman or any of those, go watch those. They continue to be great. They continue to be good. So yeah, sorry folks. Next time I'll watch something interesting and I'll tell you all about it.
Yeah.
All right, that does it for another episode. Thanks for tuning in. Thanks for listening to this. This was a really weird movie. This was one of the weirder movies we've done here. Certainly.
It was kind of a hassle to get going on this too. We had to change locations and everything.
So glad I got to participate.
So glad you suggested wine.
Yeah, it was necessary.
Oh yeah. Yeah, it's 6 o'clock and I already got my buzz on, so it's kind of a wasted day. All right, well, thank you.
It's never wasted when you're with friends.
That's
never
right.
Wasted when you're wasted.
That's right. That too.
It's never wasted when you're listening to your favorite podcast, which clearly this one is. All right, we'll catch you next time, folks, for something different. See you then.
Bye, guys.